Welcome to Epic Every Day. This documentary delves into the chilling true story of Raya and Sakina, two notorious sisters whose criminal activities shocked Egypt in the early 20th century. From the years 1919 to 1920, the following documentary contains content related to violent crime and may be distressing to some viewers. Discretion is advised.
In the bustling streets of Alexandria, beneath the veneer of everyday life, a darkness festered. Between 1919 and 1921, a series of chilling murders gripped the city, leaving an indelible mark on its history. But these weren't the acts of ordinary criminals. The masterminds behind these heinous crimes were two sisters, Raya and Sakina, whose names would forever be etched in infamy. What drove these women to commit such atrocities? How did they evade capture for so long? And why does their story continue to haunt Egypt to this day? Join me as we delve into the terrifying tale of Raya and Sakina, Egypt's most notorious serial killers. Raya and Sakina Ali Hammam were born in Upper Egypt in a time and place marked by poverty and hardship. Raya was born in the village of Al-Khal Edfu district, Aswan Governorate in Upper Egypt around 1875, while Sakina was born in Kafar el-Zayat around 1885. Their father died at a young age, and the family moved to Beni Suef and then to Kafar el-Zayat, where the two sisters worked in cotton picking. Raya married Hezbollah and gave birth to a daughter named Badia and another child who died shortly after birth. Sakina then moved with her new husband to Alexandria to live in the Laban district around 1913. Her sister Raya followed her with her family. Sakina divorced her husband and married Muhammad Abdul Ayal, who was their neighbor at the time. Seeking a better life, the sisters moved to Alexandria, a city of opportunity and of hidden dangers. What began as a quest for survival would soon turn into a nightmare for the women who crossed their path. Initially, Raya and Sakina tried to make an honest living, but the lure of quick money soon led them down a darker road. It wasn't long before they devised a scheme that would make them infamous. Due to the harsh economic conditions during World War I and the spread of unemployment and poverty in the region, the family turned to illegal activities, including secret prostitution. Eventually, they began to target women, stealing their gold jewelry and then burying the bodies in secret to leave no trace. Between 1919 and 1921, Raya and Sakina, along with their accomplices, orchestrated one of the most chilling crime sprees in Egypt's history. Under the pretense of friendship, they lured women into their home, where greed and desperation led to murder. Their victims, mostly vulnerable women, were strangled, robbed, and buried beneath the very floorboards of their home. Once the victim was dead, they would strip her of her gold jewelry and clothing, then bury her in the same place where she was killed. The two sisters would then sell the stolen gold to a jeweler in the market, splitting the money with the rest of the gang. The turning point came when one of the victims' bodies was discovered buried under the floorboards of a house connected to the sisters. This led to a full-scale investigation as detectives began to unravel the web of deceit and violence that Raya and Sakina had spun. Raya and Sakina rented multiple houses across Alexandria, using them as bases for their gruesome activities. Over time, they rented at least 4 different homes in various parts of the city. These homes became the final resting places for many of their victims. The frequent change of residences allowed them to continue their crimes undetected, with each new house serving as both a murder site and a burial ground. Here's a detailed breakdown of the houses, including what was found in each. House number 5. Notorious Alley Street. This was one of the most infamous locations linked to the sisters. When the authorities investigated, they found the remains of 3 women buried beneath the floorboards. 38 Ali Bek Al-Kabir. In this house, the police found 10 bodies. It was where the largest number of victims were discovered, playing a crucial role in the case against Raya, Sakina, and their accomplices. House number 6. Al-Naga Street. In this house, the police found 3 bodies. House number 8. Al-Naga Street. In this house, the police found their last body. In total, 17 bodies were found across these 4 locations, all hidden beneath the floors, marking these homes as the burial grounds of Raya and Sakina's victims. Each house was chosen carefully, with the sisters frequently relocating to avoid detection, but ultimately their gruesome activities were uncovered. In November 1920, an Italian gentleman wanted to move his family into a house in Alexandria, Egypt's Mediterranean port city. The previous inhabitants had been evicted by the landlords after gathering thieves, pimps, and prostitutes there, turning the house into a brothel. The landlords wanted a respectable tenant for the 3-story building at 5 Notorious Alley, and if the Italian needed running water in the kitchen and bathroom, he would have it. The Italian gentleman named Antonio Belisario. Antonio Belisario's significance lies in the fact that his demands for the renovation of the property inadvertently led to the discovery of the hidden bodies, which eventually exposed the criminal activities of Raya and Sakina. His request for plumbing work in the house at 5 Notorious Alley directly resulted in the uncovering of the first victim, sparking the investigation that revealed the extent of the sisters' gruesome crimes. On Sunday, 14th November 1920, the landlord sent his nephew, Ahmed Mercy, known as the Disabled for his bad eyesight, to search for the water pipes beneath the building. Mercy began by knocking out some of the floor slabs and digging through the chalk and gravel below, surprised that the ground wasn't rock solid. Suddenly, his hatchet hit something. Was it a water pipe? If so, it must have been filled with something putrid, for a terrible smell filled the air. Mercy reached in with his hands to investigate what could possibly be the culprit. Feeling his way in the dark rubble, he grabbed onto something loose. He lifted it up close to his eyes so he could make out what he was holding. It was a human arm. Mercy immediately reported the discovery to the local police. The investigation quickly revealed a new layer of intrigue. The property was rented by a man named Mohammed El Samani, who had sublet rooms to various tenants, including Sakina Ali Hammam and others. The room where the body was found had been rented by Sakina in the past. Investigations confirmed that Sakina had been forced to leave the room after the original tenant was evicted by court order. She had tried to return and rent the room through various methods and enticements, but the landlord had refused her. This led the officer to suspect Sakina due to her attempts to regain the room. After the discovery of the two unidentified bodies, one of the undercover agents spread throughout Alexandria in search of any news related to missing women noticed something suspicious. The agent, named Ahmed al-Baki, detected a strong smell of incense emanating from the room of Raya on the ground floor of Khadija Hasab's house on Ali Bek el-Kabir Street. The agent confirmed that the incense smoke was suspiciously coming from the room's window, which aroused his suspicion. He decided to enter the room and was met with extreme agitation from Raya when he inquired about the excessive incense. This suspicion led the agent to quickly report his concerns to Yuzbashi Ibrahim Hamdi. Immediately, a team of police officers, agents and sergeants was dispatched to the room. They found a wooden storage chest and ordered the room to be cleared and the chest to be removed. Upon inspection, the officer discovered that the tiles on the floor beneath the chest were newly installed, unlike the rest of the room's tiles. He ordered the tiles to be removed, and when this was done, a foul smell of decay was overwhelming. As more tiles were removed, a woman's body was revealed. Raya was horrified and increasingly agitated, while the officer ordered continued excavation and preservation of the body. He then prepared a report at the station and took Raya to the Luban police station. Just as they reached the station's gate, the officer was informed that a third body had been found. Additionally, the team at Raya's room discovered a decisive piece of evidence, a seal belonging to Hisab Allah, Raya's husband, which was found on a circular rope. It appeared that Hisab Allah had been wearing it around his neck and dropped it while burying one of the bodies. Raya could no longer deny her involvement, especially after receiving another report from the officer's men about the discovery of the third body. Raya was compelled to confess that although she had not participated in the murders, men used to come to the room with women, and they committed the crimes in her absence. She identified the men as Arabi and Ahmed al-Jidar. Following this revelation, the prosecutor ordered the arrest of everyone mentioned in the recent reports, especially after the security services managed to identify the owners of the bodies found in Raya's house. Further investigations by an officer named Mohammed el-Shehat revealed that Raya was renting another room in Al-Naga, a alley off Sidi Iskander Street. The police swiftly moved to the new address, cleared the two rooms and discovered additional bodies. The officers head to the homes of all the arrested suspects. Lieutenant Ahmed Abdullah from the investigation unit finds jewelry, photographs and a promissory note for £120 in the house of the suspect Arabi Hassan. The same officer also finds other documents and items in the house of Ahmed al-Jadar. Then they receive information that Raya used to live in another house in Carmuz but left, claiming the area was bad. During the excavation, the body of a new woman is discovered. Raya was the first to decide to confess early, admitting that she was a naive woman and that men used to come to her room with women during her absence, then kill the women before she arrived. She claimed she had only witnessed one killing. The prosecution relied on the main witness in the case, Badia, Raya's daughter, who requested protection before making her confession to avoid retaliation from her aunt Sakina and her husband. They assured her safety, and she confessed to luring women to her aunt's house, where the men would slaughter and bury them. Despite her full confession, Badia tried to downplay her mother Raya's role, even at the expense of her aunt Sakina, while Sakina, when making a final confession, minimized her husband's involvement. While Sakina, in her further confessions, recounts the story of killing 17 women and girls, she confirms that her sister Raya was the one who initially involved her in the crime for £3. After that, Sakina received her share from each crime without being able to object, fearing that her husband Abdul Ayal and his men would kill her. The case captivated public opinion in Egypt and dominated newspaper headlines with news of the suspect's arrest. However, the investigations did not proceed smoothly due to conflicting testimonies, numerous leads, and insufficient evidence, which threatened to derail the case and allow the perpetrators to escape justice. This led Kamal Pasha Aziz, the public prosecutor in Alexandria, to apologize for the case after spending 12 days investigating without success, having found no decisive evidence against Raya and Sakina. Immediately, the Attorney General assigned Suleiman Bak Aziz, the Deputy Public Prosecutor and Chief of the Cairo Public Prosecution Office, to complete the investigations. He was able to connect the dots and resolve the case within 3 days of his arrival. He interrogated Raya's daughter Badia, who confessed to witnessing the crimes. Upon confronting Raya, she was compelled to confess. When the suspects were faced with the evidence and the confessions of others, they ultimately admitted to committing these crimes. The court held the final session of the trial on Monday, May 16, 1921, at 8:30 a.m. The charge of premeditated murder with intent to rob was brought against each of the following: Raya and Sakina Ali Hammam, Hasabullah Saeed Marai, Mohammed Abdulayal, Arabi Hassan and Abdel Razak Yusuf, and the charge of complicity in concealment was brought against each of the following: Ali Hassan Nazar the jeweler, who bought all the victims' jewelry, Amina bint Mansour Mohammed Ali al-Qadosi, and Salama Mohammed Kadar. The court sentenced each of the following: Raya and Sakina Ali Hammam, Hasabullah Saeed Marai, Mohammed Abdulayal, Orabi Hassan, and Abdel Razak Yusuf to death by hanging. Ali Mohammed Nasar, the jeweler, was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Meanwhile, the court acquitted each of the following: Salama Mohammed Kadar, Amina bint Mansour, and Mohammed Ali al-Qadosi